On a cold, mist-shrouded evening in the small town of Willow Creek, an old Victorian house stood at the edge of the woods, its silhouette looming against the dying light. The townsfolk whispered about the place, warning children to stay away, for it was said to be haunted by the restless spirit of a young bride. But few knew the true story of what happened within those crumbling walls, and even fewer dared to speak the name of the woman whose tragic fate had left a stain upon the house and all who entered it. It began years ago, when a charming young man named Thomas Miller moved into Willow Creek. He was handsome, with a quick smile, and a gentle manner that won the hearts of many. But it was Emily Carter, a bright-eyed woman with a laugh like wind chimes, who captured his affection. Their courtship was the talk of the town, a whirlwind romance that ended in a lavish wedding attended by everyone in Willow Creek. The newlyweds moved into the old Victorian house, a gift from Thomas's late aunt, and for a while, happiness seemed to bloom within its walls. But happiness, as the townsfolk would later say, was never meant to last in that house. The first signs were subtle, a chill in the air that lingered even when the fireplace roared, the feeling of being watched from shadowed corners, the sound of footsteps echoing in empty halls. Emily tried to brush it off as the quirks of an old house, but unease settled deep in her bones. Thomas, ever the rationalist, dismissed her fears with a laugh and a reassuring arm around her shoulders. But the house had its secrets. At night, Emily would wake to the sound of whispering, voices too faint to understand but insistent, pleading. She would find herself standing at the foot of the stairs, unsure how she got there, her nightgown damp with cold sweat. Mirrors fogged over without reason, and sometimes in the corner of her eye, she would see a pale face staring back at her, mouth twisted in a silent scream. One evening, as a storm raged outside, Emily ventured into the attic, drawn by a compulsion she could not explain. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. In the far corner, she found an old trunk, its lid covered in deep scratches. Inside, she discovered a faded wedding dress, stained and torn, along with a bundle of letters tied with a black ribbon. The letters spoke of love, betrayal, and heartbreak. A woman named Margaret, who had once lived in the house, abandoned by her husband, and left to waste away in loneliness. As Emily read the final letter, a gust of icy wind slammed the attic door shut. The room plunged into darkness, and in the silence, she heard a sob. Turning, she saw the ghostly figure of a young woman in a tattered wedding dress, her eyes hollow with grief. The apparition reached out, her fingers brushing Emily's cheek, leaving a trail of frost. From that night on, the haunting grew worse. Emily's health began to decline, her skin grew pale, her eyes sunken, and she became withdrawn, her laughter fading into silence. Thomas grew distant, spending more time away from home, unable to face the growing darkness that had settled over their lives. One night, Emily awoke to find herself standing in the garden, barefoot and shivering, the grass slick with dew. The ghostly bride stood before her, tears streaming down her face, whispering words that Emily could not understand. The next morning, Thomas found Emily unconscious at the foot of the stairs, her lips blue and her breath shallow. The doctor could find no cause for her illness, and within days, Emily slipped away, her final words a plea for forgiveness. After Emily's death, Thomas was a broken man. He wandered the empty house, haunted by memories and regrets, until one evening he vanished without a trace. The house stood empty, its windows dark, but the townsfolk spoke of strange lights flickering within, and the sound of a woman's weeping echoing through the night. Years passed, and the house fell into ruin, but the legend of the young bride's vengeful spirit endured. Children dared each other to approach the porch, claiming to see a pale figure in the window, her eyes filled with sorrow and rage. Some said she wandered the halls, searching for her lost love, while others believed she sought vengeance on those who had wronged her. One autumn, a group of college students, eager for a thrill, decided to spend the night in the haunted house. Among them was Jessica, a skeptic who laughed at the stories and insisted ghosts were nothing more than superstition. As midnight approached, the group gathered in the parlor, telling ghost stories by candlelight. The air grew colder, and the flames flickered as if caught by an unseen breeze. Suddenly, the door to the hallway creaked open, and a chilling silence fell over the room. One by one, the candles snuffed out, plunging them into darkness. Jessica felt a cold hand brush her shoulder, and a voice, barely more than a whisper, echoed in her ear. "Help me." Panic erupted as the students scrambled for their flashlights, only to find the batteries dead. In the faint glow of their phones, they caught glimpses of a figure in white, her face twisted in agony, drifting through the shadows. Doors slammed shut, trapping them inside as the temperature plummeted. The walls seemed to close in, and the air grew thick with the scent of decay and despair. Desperate to escape, Jessica remembered the stories of the attic and the letters. She led the group upstairs, the floorboards groaning beneath their feet. In the attic, they found the old trunk, its lid now wide open. As Jessica reached inside, the ghostly bride appeared, her eyes locked on Jessica's, pleading for release. Jessica realized that the spirit was not seeking vengeance, but peace. She read the final letter aloud, her voice trembling as she spoke of forgiveness and love lost. As the last words left her lips, the ghost's expression softened, her form flickering like a dying candle. With a final mournful sigh, the apparition faded, and the oppressive weight that had hung over the house lifted. The doors unlatched, and the students fled into the night, vowing never to return. The next morning, the townsfolk found the house changed. The windows sparkled, the air felt lighter, and the garden, once choked with weeds, bloomed with wildflowers. But some say that on stormy nights when the wind howls through the trees, the faint sound of a woman's laughter can still be heard, echoing through the halls of the old Victorian house, a reminder of the young bride whose love and sorrow lingered long after her death. The story of Emily Miller became a cautionary tale in Willow Creek, a warning of the dangers that lurk in forgotten places and the power of a broken heart. Some believed the house was finally at peace, its spirits laid to rest, while others whispered that the darkness had merely shifted, waiting for the next soul to cross its threshold. And so, the legend of the restless bride endures, a chilling reminder that some wounds never heal, and some ghosts never truly leave. In the years that followed, the house attracted the curious and the brave, each drawn by the promise of a glimpse into the unknown. Paranormal investigators set up their equipment, capturing strange voices and cold spots, their recordings filled with static and the faint sound of weeping. No one stayed long, for the sense of unease was overwhelming, as if the very walls remembered the pain and sorrow that had seeped into the wood. One investigator, Michael Harris, spent a night alone in the house, determined to uncover the truth. As midnight approached, he wandered the halls, his recorder in hand, whispering questions into the darkness. The air grew heavy, and the temperature dropped, his breath fogging in the beam of his flashlight. Suddenly, his recorder crackled to life, a voice whispering, "He left me. Alone." Michael's heart pounded as he followed the sound to the attic, where the ghostly bride awaited him. She reached out, her touch icy, her eyes filled with longing. Michael spoke softly, promising to tell her story, to ensure she was never forgotten. As dawn broke, Michael left the house, his face pale and his eyes haunted. He kept his promise, sharing Emily's story with the world, and the legend of the young bride's spirit grew. Some say that by telling her tale, the curse was finally broken, and the house became a place of peace. Others insist that the sorrow lingers still, a warning to those who would ignore the past. And so, the house at the edge of Willow Creek stands as a silent sentinel, its windows reflecting the memories of love and loss, its halls echoing with the footsteps of those who came before. The legend of the young bride endures, a chilling reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that some spirits are bound not by vengeance, but by the desperate hope of being remembered. If you ever find yourself in Willow Creek, and the wind carries the sound of distant laughter, remember the story of Emily Miller, the young bride whose love was stronger than death, and whose sorrow left a mark that time could not erase. For in the shadows of the old Victorian house, her spirit lingers still, a silent witness to the tragedy that unfolded within its walls. A tale of love, betrayal, and the restless longing of a soul that could not find peace. And perhaps, if you listen closely, you will hear her whisper, carried on the wind, "Remember me."